Hey, what's up guys? In this Akuma video, we're going to talk about Akuma's basic normal attacks. I know we've been doing combo videos, tech videos, and even like crazy 50-50 mix-ups, but this time we're going to tone it down and we're just going to talk about Akuma's basic move list. And this video will be useful too for players who don't play Akuma and you guys want to have a better understanding of what Akuma can do. So let's get started with Akuma's standing light punch. This is Akuma's 3-frame normal, so this is his fastest normal attack. This is the button you want to use when you need speed. If your opponent is close to you and you're in a scramble and you need to press your fastest button, that would be standing light punch. And for how fast it is, the range is really good. And of course, this easily converts into a lot of his basic bread and butter combos as well. If you're dashing towards somebody too, you can stick out his standing light punch to hit check him right away. And it even converts into a standing medium kick if you get a counter hit, for example. And that combos as well. Another thing too is it's really great for punishing because of its range. So let's say you block your opponent's overhead, which most of them are -6 for example. It's really good to just stick out the light punch and just go for reliable punishing. And if your opponent knocks you down too, and you know he's not going to do like a perfect meaty on you for example, and you need to wake up with a really fast attack, definitely want to use standing light punch and not crouching light punch. Alright, let's talk about Akuma's crouching light punch now. Crouching light punch has just a little bit more range than his crouching light kick, just a tiny bit more range. If I could show you guys here. There we go. And you can still cancel from this as well, right into most of his basic combos. So pretty much just more range than crouching light kick, but just barely. Next up we have Akuma's standing light kick. This is actually a really important normal for Akuma players. And I don't see too many Akuma players actually using this. It's 4 frames, so it's not that slow. But the key thing about this is that it barely pushes the opponent back on hit or block. Really important to know. So for example, if I go right in front of Ryu here, and I do standing light punch and I go for a throw, I'm out of range. If I go in front, do crouching light punch, I'm out of range. Crouching light kick, out of range. But standing light kick, I am in range of the throw. This is really important to know. And the same thing if he's blocking too. Out of range, still in range. And what's important about this is that it's like your main tool that you use if you want to shimmy your opponent. So if you go standing light kick, walk back, standing medium kick to your Tatsu, and shimmy him. So usually if you dash forward and you have a choice, use the standing light kick. Or if, like say you're coming down from like an air fireball and you're not going to be close to him, standing light kick, or if you cross him up, standing light kick, walk back, and then you can shimmy him that way. Because you want to put him in the threat of the throw, right? You want to make it really fast. It's pretty easy also to do like a frame trap as well. Like if he's guarding, you can do a standing light kick and then you can frame trap with standing light punch into standing medium kick, because that all converts into a combo as well, like I showed before. So you go standing light kick just if he's mashing throw for example. Next up we have Akuma's crouching light kick. Not much to say except it's your fast low hitting light attack, but you can convert this into a crouching light punch and then combo from there as well. But keep in mind, when you're doing like conversions on your opponent, like if he's crouching, you can't do the light Tatsu like that. You'll run into this situation a lot, and you don't want this to happen. You want to use your medium kick Tatsu if you're going to convert that way. It barely does any damage, but at least you still get a knockdown. You can go for a light uppercut, which is a little bit more reliable, but you can still run into situations where you hit him really far and it will still miss. And then forget the hard punch uppercut, like the range is not good for that. So just keep that in mind when you're using crouching light attacks. Okay, Akuma's standing medium punch. This is Akuma's slowest medium attack, but it's also his furthest. So it reaches farther than his crouching medium kick, for example. So let me show an example here. And it still hits him. I honestly don't use this medium attack too much. Like usually when I use a far range normal, I like to use the standing hard punch. But at least the standing medium punch is +1 on block, so it's safe. Whereas the standing hard punch is -5. And you can still cancel from it, for example. And you can convert a light attack from it, like this. But there's really not too much point. You might as well use this crouching medium punch, which is faster. And that converts into a standing medium kick. So pretty much the main thing to know about a standing medium punch is that it has the furthest range if you want that medium attack speed. Akuma's crouching medium punch is a really good medium attack. It's pretty much your main thing that you convert into a standing medium kick for all of his big bread and butter combos. And surprisingly, it doesn't reach as far as his crouching medium kick, but it's still a really good normal that I like to use a lot, and you can still cancel from it. Another thing too that I really like poking with this attack is because if you land a counter hit, it's really easy to convert into a sweep from it, like this for example. So I always like fish and look for counter hits when I land this. And if you're close, obviously, you can easily see that and confirm that into a standing medium kick. Okay, now Akuma standing medium kick. This is Akuma's fastest medium normal. This is his 5-framer. This is really important to know when you need to punish things. You need to punish it with huge damage. And of course, it leads into all of his bread and butter stuff. Another important thing about Akuma standing medium kick is that it forces stand, which is why you always want to land this thing. Since it makes your opponent stand up, you don't have to worry about which Tatsu you have to do. If you do your light Tatsu, you know it's going to land. Also, the range on this thing is deceptively far. It's pretty good. So a lot of Akuma players like to use it as a poke. Just keep in mind, if you cancel to a fireball, you're usually so close that the opponent is going to punish you anyways. But it's still a really good normal that you definitely should use a lot. Next up, we have Akuma's crouching medium kick. Now, I know a lot of you guys think the range on this is terrible, and it is terrible range. But the thing about Akuma's crouching medium kick is that he's +3 on hit. So it is actually pretty useful. Also, if you have your super ready, it's really easy to convert this into a fireball, into a super. So even though the range is bad, it's still a medium strength, medium speed, low hitting attack that still has further range than your crouching light kick, but barely. So you still want to use this a lot to low check your opponent constantly. Alright, Akuma standing hard punch. This is pretty much your normal you want to use in footsies. It's slow, it's pretty easy to whiff punish, and it's -5 on block. But you can get a huge reward if you land a counter hit. If you land one hit, if you have really fast reactions, you can convert this into the second part of your target combo. But of course, on counter hit, it is much easier. Once you see the flash, you can easily have more than enough time to hit another hard punch because of all the hit stop. Also, it's pretty much your go-to to convert into V-trigger when you need to in a pinch. Let's say you have your V-trigger ready, you want to use it, but you just don't want to waste it raw, and your opponent is like really, you know, beating you in neutral and it's really far away. You can always just go for the gamble, standing hard punch, and convert and make it safe. And if you do happen to land it, you get a free conversion by just dashing forward and doing an uppercut. So Akuma standing hard punch is really good, especially when you have your opponent in the corner and you want to really just, you know, space him well, just because of how long distance it is. Just keep in mind that it is -5 on block. Okay, Akuma's crouching hard punch. This is definitely one of his best normal attacks. For one, it's a really good anti-air and hard strength normal, and he's low to the ground because it is a crouching attack. Another reason is this thing is active for 4 frames. This thing sticks out forever. 4 frames is really rare in Street Fighter V. So if you have your opponent knocked down, for example, you definitely want to stick this out to make sure he's not pressing any buttons. And you don't have to worry about doing this point blank because it's +3 on block, which is insane. And then of course, you can convert this into whatever combo you want. Surprisingly, Akuma's crouching hard punch is +8 on hit. You can use your imagination if you land this thing. It's so plus that you can confirm this into super. So if Akuma has super out, he becomes really dangerous because you could just simply walk forward and do a random crouching hard punch, and if you see it hit, you could just link it into super. There's 2 hits like that. So really crazy. On top of all of this, once again, it's a crush counter. So if you see it land from, like, if you do it up close, then yes, you can just convert into standing medium kick into whatever. But if you happen to land this really far, and you're too far to land something, like, it'll cause a juggle, right? What you want to use is his back hard punch, right? So if you do crouching hard punch, you see it, you got more than enough time to dash forward and convert into whatever you want. So definitely one of Akuma's best normals. Alright, let's talk about Akuma's standing hard kick now. This is one of Akuma's anti-airs. I don't use it too much as an anti-air because it's a very specific range. You gotta be really far, and you gotta be pretty precise with your timing on it. Most of the time you get stuffed. I guess it does have the benefit that it's much more easier to crush counter as an anti-air than crouching hard punch does. This also lands into his target combo, and you gotta be careful with this because it whiffs on crouching opponents. So even though the target combo does a lot of damage, you gotta worry about that. So if you jump in your opponent and he's blocking low, is usually the case when he gets hit by a jumping attack. You can't go into the target from there. So you really gotta keep this in mind. The main use of his standing hard kick is that it's pretty much his strongest crush counter conversion because it puts him into a staggered state. So you can do standing hard kick into crouching hard punch into standing medium kick, which is an insane punish. So if you block somebody's uppercut, for example, standing hard kick is definitely your go-to to convert. Now Akuma's crouching hard kick, not much to say about this except that it's your knockdown normal, just like any other character. I guess we could talk about the speed. His crouching hard kick is 7 frame startup, which is pretty fast for a sweep compared to a lot of the characters, but it's only active for 2, and if they block it, you're of course toast because it's minus 15 on block. But yeah, it's a sweep. Alright, let's talk about Akuma's jumping attacks now. Start with jumping light punch. This is 3 frame startup. It's a 3-framer in the air. So if you're air to air someone and you want to press the fastest button, you want to use this jumping light punch. Also, another thing, like the range is really low, of course, right? So you want to use it in a scramble. If your opponent's really close to you and you see him going for a cross-up, you can jump back and do a light punch to hit him out of the air. Another cool thing about this jumping light punch is that it's an instant overhead attack. So there's a lot of setups with Akuma where the opponent will have like no life left and he'll be on the ground and you can just boom, bump him right over the head. Something similar to what Dawson would do if you really need to close out a match. Good to know. Okay, Akuma's jumping light kick now. This is 4 frames, so it's slower than his jumping light punch. But the benefit of this is that it's one of his cross-up attacks. This actually has more range as a cross-up than his jumping medium kick does, surprisingly. So there's a lot of situations where you want to use his jumping light kick if you want to make sure that you land that cross-up. And of course, you can convert it just like his jumping medium kick as well. It's just another cross-up option. Or you can go right into like a tick throw, for example, if you want lower stun. Alright, jumping medium punch now. This is pretty much Akuma's air to air because he sticks his hand out straight. So if you just want to do a neutral jump and quickly swat your opponent out of the air, that's pretty much the use for it. I can't think of anything else you would use it for. Like, same thing, if your opponent's really close and you see a cross up, you can do a jump back medium punch and it'll swat him out of the air. Now let's talk about Akuma's jumping medium kick. Of course, this is pretty much your go-to Akuma cross-up attack. Like I said, the range isn't the best. You'll miss it sometimes. It's not something insane like Nash's jumping medium kick, but it's still, you know, a cross-up, right? And of course, this will easily convert into all your basic bread and butter combos. You can convert to a crouching hard punch, but you gotta jump pretty deep for it. So most of the time you will miss going for it, but it is possible. Especially if your opponent is stuck in the corner, for example. Alright, jumping hard punch now. This is pretty much my go-to jumping attack when I'm going to go for combos because of the angle it hits. It's just a more reliable angle than Akuma's jumping hard kick, but it has a little bit less range. So yeah, Akuma's jumping hard kick, really weird this attack, how it just kind of kicks in this upward angle. I guess you could swat somebody out of the air with this if you want to use a hard attack to do it, but as a jumping attack, I would prefer standing hard punch just because look how it hits. It's not even hitting Ryu right now. It has very slightly more range than his jumping hard punch, but I still wouldn't use that as a reason to use his jumping hard kick. I guess if you're jumping over a fireball and you wanted to hit the edge of his fingertips, you could use his jumping hard kick, but that's pretty much, yeah, it's really weird normal for Akuma. Alright, let's talk about command normals now. Akuma's dive kick. It's down medium kick in the air at the peak of your jump. A lot of times I see people messing up on this. They'll jump in the air and they'll do like a medium kick, for example, because they're trying to reach the peak. But one of the things I noticed that helps me make this come out more consistently is when I jump in the air, I return the stick back to neutral and I just press down and medium kick at the same time, and it just helps it come out more reliably. Now, pretty much the main use of this is to throw off your opponent's timing and just to jump shallow. I'm trying to make him bait an uppercut. Like, I'll be in this range and I'll jump, and he might stick out a normal or something, and you could just go straight down. Kind of like how Nakala uses it. Of course, you can like combo off of it, but you have to hit the toes with this thing. Because if you hit him right over the top of the head and he blocks it, you're toast. So don't use this too often. It's just, think of it just as another tool in Akuma's arsenal, basically. Alright, let's talk about Akuma's overhead, his forward medium punch. It's pretty slow. It starts up in, I think, 23 frames, and it's -6 on block, and it does 2 hits. It's also 0 on hit, which means you pretty much can't convert anything off of it. I guess if you got a meaty and it was a counter hit, you'd be able to link a standing light punch after. I would have to check that out. But for the most part, this is Akuma's overhead attack. That's pretty much all you need to know about it. Now we have Akuma's forward hard punch. When I first saw this, I thought it was an overhead attack, but it's not. So you don't worry if you're crouching and you block this. Now the thing about Akuma's forward hard punch, the main point of this is to bait throws or like light attacks. So if you walk up to your opponent and you just do like a light attack like this, and you go right into it, there's a high chance he's gonna be mashing on throw, and if he does, he's gonna get hit by this. And you can even combo afterwards. It's +4 on hit, but you still want to use a standing light punch to convert, just to give yourself as much time as possible. If you see that he's crouching when you hit him with it, you have enough time to recognize that and convert into either like an EX Tatsu to hit him, or you can go right into a medium hurricane kick as well. So a lot of time to convert. If you land a counter hit with this thing, it can convert into a medium because it's +4 on hit. So you can land like a standing medium kick, for example, which will force the stand, and you can go into harder hitting combos, for example. Another thing too is that you can actually walk up to your opponent and just kind of throw it out. This thing does actually go over fireballs, which is pretty funny. But most of the time when you're walking at this kind of speed, because Akuma's movement speed is a little bit faster than Ryu's, it's pretty fast. But most of the time you can just bully the opponent because this thing is plus on block. It's completely safe. A lot of times when the opponent blocks this thing, you're going to be put into a situation where since you're +1, if the opponent sticks out a normal, you're going to win with your light punch because yours is a 3-framer, right? So you're going to win. You should recognize that counter hit and then convert that into the hurricane kick. But once you condition your opponent enough where he's like, man, I can't press a button after this, you can get into situations where you go into another one, for example, or you simply just throw your opponent, and it'll really get into his mind and make him really worried every time you land this thing. Also, this thing is does a lot of damage if you get the opponent in the corner, because of course you can convert this into his EX hurricane kick, for example, for a lot of damage. And this is usually when your opponent's really nervous and he's watching out for throws in general, because Akuma's got a pretty scary throw loop. Now we have Akuma's back hard punch. This is a really good anti-air. If you're starting off with Akuma and you're not fast enough to do his uppercuts, then I would say your go-to should be your back hard punch. It hits twice, puts him in a juggled state, and you can cancel out of it. Either hit, you can go into his demon flip, for example, into the punch, or you can go into like a red fireball, for example. Another thing too is this thing starts up in 6 frames, so it's really fast. So it's really reliable, especially when you're like close to your opponent. It works at a lot of good ranges. Another thing too is you can use this thing on the ground as well. It's actually pretty good to cancel stuff from it because it really builds up that gray health. And if the first hit into like an EX red fireball is like a true block string, so there's like no space in between. So it's just really good to bully your opponent with in general. And it does a lot of damage too. There's some optimized combos where you go like jumping hard punch into one hit of this into your uppercut, for example. But for the most part, this is used as your anti-air or used for something to convert into a juggle, for example, like I showed before with this crushing hard punch, and you want to juggle into something. Now Akuma's 2 target combos is standing hard punch. Like I said before, the point of this thing is mostly to land the crush counter to convert into something. But if you have fast reactions, you can convert the second hit, and it has a lot of good corner carry in general. It's just something that really helps Akuma's neutral because it's not the best, right? And if you do happen to hit him with it, you want to, something meaningful. But for the most part, like I said, it is a crush counter. If you do happen to land a crush counter with it and you don't convert in the second hit, there's not much you can do unless you're in the corner, of course. Then you can convert into something, like a light hurricane kick, for example. I think it goes into 2 V-trigger fireballs as well. Finally, Akuma's other target combo is standing hard kick into hard kick. This is pretty much your full jump in punish. Like if you jump in the air and you see your opponent throw a fireball, for example, and you want to go for absolute max damage, you want to do this hard kick. But for the most part, you won't be using it too much because, like I said, if the opponent's crouching, it's simply going to whiff. You're not going to get anything from it. And sometimes the pushback is too far as well. Sometimes you'll be in this weird, awkward range where the medium kick will miss. So for the most part, I like to do jumping hard punch, crouching hard punch combos. But if the opponent is dizzy, like I said, or you know you're gonna land the hit, then yes, you want to go into a target combo. You can kind of play it like Ryu, where you kind of walk towards your opponent and try to poke with it and try to convert, but you'll be too far for a standing medium kick anyways, so I don't really see much of the point unless you're trying to fish for crush counter hits. And that's it, guys. That's all of Akuma's basic normal attacks. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you guys have learned something, and for all you guys that don't play Akuma and watch this video, props to you, man, for taking down those notes. So as usual, guys, I'll keep you posted on more fighting game news and stuff in the future. Take care, everyone.